Good afternoon, folks. I'm meteorologist Ross Mumal here with First Coast News. We are tracking a very strong and potent cold front towards the First Coast, not only bringing with it some rain and some storms, yes, but also a big and really significant cold down. A polar blast is going to be on the way come Thursday morning. So a lot to talk about here over the next 24 to 36 hours. And here is one image of what the cold front is looking like. So you can see a lot of warm, moist air surging up out of the Gulf of Mexico up towards southern Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia even. So some showers and some thunderstorms beginning to fire off there ahead of the approaching cold front that will be headed our way. So until the front arrives, we're continuing to just kind of add fuel to the eventual fire that will reach us tomorrow morning and into the afternoon. So southerly, southeasterly winds out at the coast, anywhere from 10 to 15 miles per hour. So that's pulling in warmer air. Temperatures outside right now, quite warm, especially compared to where we should be at for this time of the year. Typically, our averages are in the upper 60s. Today, many of us are in at least the mid 70s, a few of us in the upper 70s, close to 80 degrees. You got 79 in St. Augustine, Palm Coast, and Palatka. So very warm air. The humidity and that moisture content in the air is also continuing to increase due to that southerly flow. So the warm, moist air will eventually give rise to some showers and thunderstorms once that cold front arrives. But here is where that line is currently set up. So pretty much from Atlanta, south of Birmingham, down into Alabama, and then Biloxi, Mississippi, even New Orleans, seeing some showers and thunderstorms here this afternoon. So that entire line of rain and storms will eventually reach us by tomorrow morning, which is why we have issued a weather impact alert for the entirety of the day tomorrow, primarily due to two things. Yes, the rain and storms that will come in throughout the morning hours and early afternoon, but this is really a two-part system. Yes, the rain, but then afterwards we're going to see a massive temperature drop of at least 30 to if not 40 degrees. So temperatures will go from the 70s tomorrow morning down into the mid 30s potentially by Thursday morning. So a lot to cover here. First half of the day, it's going to feel warm, muggy, almost a little bit tropical out there. Pack the umbrella. Go slow on the roads for your morning commute, especially if you leave a little bit later in the morning, 8, 9, 10 a.m. If you're out on the roads at that time, don't be surprised not only to see some rain, but also some gusty winds and isolated locations. And then by the afternoon, the northwesterly winds kick in and much colder air filters down through. So we're going to break it all down in full detail. But first, let's start you off with the first half of the day. That would be the rain and the storms. The Storm Prediction Center has put out a very marginal risk for severe weather. So are we expecting severe weather? No, not really, but there is a very, very small possibility of it. In maybe one thunderstorm that does develop, you could see a very brief landspout or isolated tornado and just a few brief strong wind gusts of 40 to 60 miles per hour could be possible and a few isolated thunderstorms. But we are not expecting widespread severe weather or really thunderstorm activity. It's really just going to be a little bit more in the way of showers and some heavier downpours. So by 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, this front begins to approach. You see the western part of the area, see those storms a little bit closer to sunrise in the early morning. By mid to late morning then, that line of storms begins to make its way towards Jacksonville in the I-95 corridor, and then pretty much by the afternoon, completely clears on out. So here's kind of zooming in, taking a much closer look at it. So by 7 a.m., so right around sunrise, that I-75 corridor out towards Valdosta, seeing some of those thunderstorms, some of those heavier downpours and things of that nature. Overall, the line will gradually weaken as it shifts further and further to the east and southeast. So best chance to see some of those stronger thunderstorms and perhaps some severe weather would be further westward. But again, by mid-morning, it's headed out towards Highway 301. So the Okefenokee, the Swanee Valley, headed towards the western parts of the metro area. So western Nassau, Duval, Clay County even, going to start to see a little bit more activity after about 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Then from 11 a.m. to noon and even 1 p.m., that's when the I-95 corridor is going to get in on a little bit of the action. So Jacksonville, Jacksonville Beach, Ponte Vedra, all the way down through Clay and Putnam counties, and then eventually St. Augustine just after lunchtime tomorrow will kind of wrap up the rest of the storm. So the best window for the Jacksonville area to see its heaviest rainfall will really be between about 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. tomorrow morning. For the entire area, I'd say from about sunrise to 1 to 2 p.m. in the afternoon will be the best chance to see some rain. You can see there a few lingering showers might just hang around through about 1 to 2 o'clock. But by 3, everything clears on out. The northwesterly winds really start to blow on in, anywhere from about 15 to 25 miles per hour. So it's going to be windy, and then that colder air really begins to come on in. So we kind of broke down hour by hour the rain. Well, here's the temperature. So outside right now, we had talked about this. Temperatures in the mid to upper 70s currently. So think that's where we're at right now. By tomorrow morning, you're waking up. Temperatures going to be in the mid to upper 60s right around sunrise. By 9 to 10 a.m. then, we start to warm up into the low to mid 70s. So our high temperature is actually going to occur right around about 10:30, right before that front and that line of storms roll on through. So temperatures in the low to mid 70s mid-morning. By the early afternoon, especially for areas to the north and northwest of Jacksonville, those temperatures are drastically going to drop pretty rapidly. So already there, you see pretty significant down into the low to mid 60s, and it just continues trending that way, colder and colder and colder the later you get into the evening. So by 5, 6 p.m. tomorrow evening, dinner time, we're talking mid 50s. When you factor in the wind, could feel like the upper 40s for a lot of folks out there. And unfortunately, it just gets worse if you're not a cold weather fan. Tomorrow night after, maybe you have evening plans, 9, 10 p.m., real field temperature is going to be down into the low 40s. Some spots already feeling like the 30s. And then by Thursday morning, you're going to need to break out the winter weather gear. The beanie, a nice thick winter coat to keep you warm out there, maybe taking your dog for a walk out there Thursday morning. Real field temperature is going to be in the low 30s. Would not be surprised if some folks up into southeast inland Georgia, so the Okefenokee, Charlton County, Pierce, Brantley, it's going to be feeling like the upper 20s from Valdosta to Waycross, and even as far west as Lake City there. So it is going to feel very cold, very brisk when you first wake up Thursday morning. A significant change from where we're going to be at, outside right now, and even tomorrow morning. So breaking it down in a couple different ways to show you here. Best chance to see rain is going to be through the morning hours. That rain chance drops off pretty quickly after about 1 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. And as the rain chances begin to decrease, those temperatures do as well. So as I had said, high temperatures actually going to occur by about mid-morning. Once that front rolls on in, temperatures will actually continue to go down and down throughout the remainder of the day. Mid to low 60s by really the late afternoon. 50s by dinner time, and then down into the 40s by the late evening before we eventually continue to cool off down into the 30s overnight. So here's, again, another way to look at it. Rain and storms in the morning, a little bit of a wet commute, some blowing and driving rain at times, so keep that in mind if you are going to be out on the roads at all. Wednesday evening will be dry but colder, breezier, even gusty in a few places, and then a brisk breeze, very cold Thursday morning, and then highs Thursday afternoon. Only going to warm up into the upper 50s. Now, it won't be nearly as windy Thursday, but you factor just a little bit of a light northwesterly breeze. Real field temperature is going to be feeling like upper 40s, lower 50s in some locations. So we're getting a little bit of a taste of summer here today, and even for tomorrow morning of that tropical-like air mass in place. But we quickly take the polar plunge, feeling much more like polar, even Siberian air there. By your Thursday morning. Thankfully, though, if you're not a cold weather fan, it's going to be very, very short-lived. By Friday, we quickly warm back up into the mid-60s by the afternoon. The weekend's looking pretty nice. Overnight lows in the 50s, highs in the low 70s, so a little bit warmer than average for this time of the year. Only isolated coastal rain chances through the weekend for both your Saturday and your Sunday. So if you're going to the Jags game against the New York Jets, Jets, Aaron Rodgers coming to town, should be pretty nice. Should stay dry for the Jaguars and all Jags fans out there come Sunday afternoon. I believe kickoff's at 1. And even into early next week then, staying pretty steady. Temperatures in the 70s there. Isolated rain chances at best. So tomorrow's really going to be the main story here over the next 7 days. Weather impact alert, rain and storms in the morning. We are not expecting severe weather, but there is a very, very small marginal risk that we're going to keep very close tabs on through the morning commute. Rain tapers off after lunchtime, and then the cold polar air plunges down in across the first coast tomorrow evening. Thursday morning lows will be in the 30s, highs in the 50s come Thursday. And then we finally begin to warm back up. So we'll have more on this over the next 24 to 36 hours as we continue to track this cold front in. But for the time being, I am meteorologist Ross Mumal. First Coast News on your side.